Hey y'all, welcome to Interview with a Reader with Alexis and Dreadpop Magazine. I'm here with Brad Ricks and we're going to talk about him and his really cool books he's been writing. Hey Brad.
Hello. It's a pleasure to
Thank
be on.
you. Oh, thank you. And thank you for being on the magazine. It's super exciting. I really love some of your books, as you know, because I don't really shut up about them every time I see you posting. And
I
I have a
appreciate it.
friend that's been drooling, waiting for this interview to come up. She's like, "When are you going to do it? When are you going to do it?" So we are excited.
Yay.
Yay! Okay, so one day I was scrolling Facebook and Books of Horror and all the places, and I saw somebody post about this book.
Yes,
And
that
I know you have another book, but I'm not usually a holiday person, but I had to. I've watched Hallmark my entire life, so I grabbed this and I've been sold since. So tell us a little bit about your books and how you come up with all this.
Oh, that wonderful question of where do you come up with your ideas? Um, well, I mean, each one kind of has its own little story behind it. I mean, not it's not like there's like a well of ideas that you're just kind of pulling out of. But I
What?
mean, every
You don't just
I
have the bottomless one that you get to choose?
No, so I no, the bag is not next to me. I would showed it now. No, I mean each one kind of has their own little, the little mustard seed that kind of, from there the whole thing springs from. Um, I always look at it as with any idea of anything really, it's you just kind of start with a single little idea and then you just kind of keep scratching at it until it just it's like the piece of sand turning into the oyster. You just kind of keep going at it and then keep
Molding
asking
your little.
why, and it just grows and grows and grows. And so Hallmark was a fun one because it's it started as a as a dumb comment that I made to my grandmother, and and then during a book signing for Fear Not the Dead, I was joking with some folks and I said that would be a fun idea. And they said, yes, it would. And so it kind of became a little challenge at that point. And so I did it. So I was sitting around with it was actually during the holidays in 2023. And I was hanging out with my grandmother, and that's what she always loved was watching Hallmark Christmas movies. And after a while, I was like, Mama, there's some like really bad things need to happen to these people. These endings are too happy, and and so that became the little nugget. That was the little mustard seed, and so from there, it kind of grew. I figured it would be fun to do some like interconnected story kind of stuff, and if I set everything kind of in that same town of Hallmark, and then just had all these little stories that were just happening around, and you can just go off with one character and then go off with another character, almost like Twin Peaks esque, almost, just or where it's like just something wrong with that town, and so that's where it kind of grew from, and then after that, it was just penciling in. I looked up a website on different Hallmark movie tropes and started working my way down the started kind of working my way down the tropes, and I was like, well, how many of these can I just really screw up? And that was kind of the goal at hand.
I'm telling you, by the time I got down to each chapter, I would just holler because I was like, this is hilariously terrible, wonderful. Like, I can't believe this is happening, and I've waited so long for this to happen. Every Hallmark trope that, some people like me have had to see over and over and over again with our family. I'm like, this is it. This is perfect. This is the
It,
Hallmark that I needed.
right. Like I say, it was. I just had that like good. I had a decent little list, and I was like, I'm gonna work through some of these. And some of them kind of like the one where uh the lady comes back to town because her dad died and she has to hang out. Then she meets uh the her ex-boyfriend who has a kid now.
I just
Some of
could
that
not
gets
believe that.
so that one, so I almost made it very almost Disney-esque in that instance. The typical kind of setup of that would have been, oh, they don't get along and she struggles, and then they end up having kind of like a come to Jesus kind of moment or something where they need to join forces to help do something, and then at the end they're all friends. And that's kind of, and so on any of those I kind of looked at where can I take the trope and then where can I break away from it. And so that's
It
you know
was so perfect. I just don't even know how to explain it because I'm reading along with it and I know what normally happens. I'm like, okay, let's see. And then I was just like, this is terrible.
yeah.
This is a
Well,
literal hell.
well, like the one with the gold digger, the girlfriend who's the gold digger or whatever, and all that. It's like, yes, eventually, the normal trope of it, she realizes there's more to life or more than just, and I was like, yeah, well,
Who needs that?
nah. So it was fun to write. It was a blast. I mean, you could probably tell in the writing I had very much fun with doing it,
Yes.
and it definitely showed through. Yeah, it was interesting during the holiday season because I wrote my debut came out in July, and every so often I'd see somebody post about it, but it didn't like really take off. But then like during Christmas, the holiday season, every time I would open up Facebook, I was either seeing 25 Days or To Hell with Hallmark.
Yes. I was so excited because I was like, this is insane. This is insane. We all have to read this. It's the craziest Christmas. I don't know. It was just something I think that all of us were kind of looking for because I haven't run across that. My usual regular Christmas stuff is just like straight horror. And I'm like, nope, this is an every Christmas read for me now. This is crazy.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm glad you liked it.
I did. And then that catapulted me, and I went and grabbed Fear Not the Dead,
Mhm.
I believe. Or no, I think I ended up realizing that I'd already bought it digitally in my library, and I went and grabbed it and read it, and I was like, oh, I need to read this. And then I was like, what else does he have? And I did love Fear Not the Dead, so tell us a little bit about that one, or anybody that hasn't read it, of course.
So, Fear Not the Dead. Yeah. So that actually that was the first book that I had published. So, funny story in there, just a little sidebar. So, Night Crew was actually the first book that I wrote that got under contract, but publishing schedules, Night Crew, or Fear Not the Dead came out first, and it was actually the second book that I wrote. So, a lot of people were like, "Wow, that was your debut." I'm like, "Yeah, we'll go with that." Um,
Yeah.
but so, Fear Not the Dead, it's a psychological thriller, but with a ghost story, haunted house kind of backdrop to it. So it definitely plays on some of those psychological elements. I isolated the characters into this beautiful estate, just kind of set in a nice little picturesque environment. And then then added in the elements that it's haunted. And but on top of that you have your typical thriller where you have the bad guy who's chasing after the good guy, but the good guy doesn't know it, and so there's that thriller-esque sense to it. And then I sprinkle in some of your good little horror, trope or horror settings of, like, the stuff that happens down at that pond or in the basement, or the cellar of the house. And so there's those real horror elements to it, but it reads very much like a thriller.
I do like that. I always love when I grab a thriller and it's got like some horror in it or even supernatural horror because not only are you dealing with the thriller part, you're like, are they crazy or is this something that is messing with them? Because you don't
Right.
know half the time.
And that's when I'm talking to people about Fear Not the Dead, like like an author conference, and they're like, What's it about?" And I was like, "Well, she thinks she's crazy. Her therapist recommends she goes to this house. It's kind of like an immersion therapy, but neither of them know it's haunted, so it doesn't really help her psyche when shadows are moving and they're not supposed to." So I was like, so that's usually when I start talking to people about it. That's kind of how I start off with the conversation.
I always think
'Cause,
that's the
yeah,
best thing though, because it adds like this whole element of creepy, but also think. I don't know. That's just one of my things that I love. So I
well, and
definitely
one of the
love
things
that.
one of the things with horror, just to me in general, is you can mix in so many different elements and so many different genres. Um, horror has that thread that can run through it. There's that dread. There's the scary aspects. There's a scene where in Fear Not the Dead where she's laying in bed and she rolls over, her husband's next to her, but when she rolls over, it's not his. Well, it's his face, but it's like bloated and dead and all this kind of stuff. And it's like you're able to pull in these horror elements and do pseudo jump scare kind of stuff, and things like that, but also play with play with thriller, play with some comedy, play with all the different genres, action, things like that, as long as you kind of maintain that horror thread. So I think it allows for a real good mix of genres.
And there's so many things that are scary to so many different people. So you can do so much. Because I see people say, this wasn't scary. And then somebody else is like, I couldn't sleep for 2 days. Like, see, there's so many different things. So many. And I kind of like that because that gives so many other options. I was talking to somebody about that recently. And I was like, it seems like horror has so many subgenres versus other genres, it seems. And I kind of love that.
Well, if you just look at the 3 books that I've written, for instance, or that I have out, not a one of them are like the same type of book.
At
Fear Not
all.
the Dead is that psychological thriller with those, it's a haunted house, it's all that. To Hell with Hallmark is horror, but I mean, there's comedy. It doesn't take itself serious at all. Everything is very tongue in cheek. It's meant to be that way. And then Night Crew is very much more Lost Boys, Blade-esque. It's got that horror,
Action
but there's
horror, kind
action.
of
Yes.
vengeance. I don't know. There was just something about it. It got me like really excited and pumped. I was like, yes, okay, let's do this. Vigilante justice kind of thing going on there.
Oh yeah, yeah. And so, talking about just a lot of so much from a genre perspective, all the stuff that you can add to it, and how much is in horror. I mean, just those three themselves. Neither one of those are the same type of book. It's not like, oh well, yeah, it's Brad, which means it's going to be a haunted house, or oh, it's it's always going to be cosmic horror, or it's always going to be aliens, or I mean, there's so much.
I love and hate that. There's like authors that do the same thing so well, and I keep going back and reading their books over and over and over again because they're amazing. But
Mhm.
I know what's going to happen. And then I have authors that, they throw me off when they're writing, and I'm like, yes, okay. I don't know what's going to go on. Am I going to be mad by the time I'm finished with this? And I love that too. So
Right.
definitely, it's a nice change of pace.
Well, it also depends on how you read it sometimes, because I'll use an example. So, um, I was researching thrillers and how to write a good thriller to kind of keep you moving along, and I was like, well, I'll read some Dan Brown, kind of change it from the horror to that. And so he has his Robert Langdon series, which there's like 5 of them, and so I read them like back to back to back to back. And as I'm at the third one, I'm like, these are very much all the same book. And so if you're reading it like one after the other, it'd be like if you're sitting down and trying to like binge watch James Bond movies or something. They're all pretty much going to end up being the same. Now, if you space them out a little bit, then it becomes, each one is kind of its own story. But yeah, if you're just like blowing through one after the other, then it's like these are all going to blend together after a while.
Sometimes when people are like, you're so lucky you found this after the series has already been completed. I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't get that suspense that you guys got. Like, I know you hated waiting a year or two, but it was a year or two where you were like psyched. And by the time you got that book, which I understand because I do have to wait for books all the time. I hate it. I'm not looking at anybody specifically that I'm looking for a sequel on, but so
I,
tell us a
I
little bit
don't know.
about
I don't know what
that.
you're talking about.
Tell us a little bit about your recent book.
So, so you're talking about the Night Crew recent, or are you talking about like the the one coming out in October?
Night Crew, and then we'll talk about the October one.
Okay, so the Night Crew, which came out in February, so it's the beginning of the series. It's the name, the Night Crew series, because I'm original. And so I so it is written. So the first one is written in first person, It's from the perspective of Mike, who his wife was very traumatically killed, and he comes home. He uh, briefly gets into a scuffle with the attacker, and then but the attacker gets away. He doesn't get much help than he wants from the local authorities, so he takes it upon himself to go search for her killer, and he finds her killer and goes to confront them, only to find out that it's a vampire, and himself is about to become food for thought, so to say. And he but before he meets his end, he the night crew, which is a group of hunters, they jump in and rescue him, and then he just makes a decision whether he wants to join them to be able to go seek vengeance for his wife's murder.
I mean, what are you supposed to say at that point? No thanks. No.
All right.
I did all this. Yeah. I'm just gonna hard pass. I'm gonna head on out, guys. No.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I'm good. Yeah.
No.
So, yeah.
I loved it. I got to read it early, of course, so I was super pumped, and it got your blood pumping. Like, I was like, okay, we need vengeance for him. After, when you're reading the first part of the book and everything that happens, it's my heart went out for him, and I'm like, I get it though. I too would be hunting this down, but then I'm also like, what would I do if I found out this wasn't just a human murderer and it was like vampires? No, crazy.
Right. Yeah. So this whole world starts to open up to him as he realizes, and they kind of explain to him that, everything that he thinks, that's not real, that goes bump in the night, is real. And that's what the night crew and others like them are there to, keep, keep those things at bay, so to say. So, and you were talking about how you kind of feel for him. I was actually on a different podcast. We were talking about kind of how I just determined to write it in first person versus like third and things like that. We kind of talked about the development of it, and I told him when I first wrote it, I think the first 2 or 3 times I rewrote the beginning of it, it was in third person, and it just didn't feel right. And so finally I was like, okay, I'm going to try it in first person. I haven't written something in first person before. I was like, I'm going to do it in that. And then I was like, well, if I start it at the funeral, you're in his head, you're in his grief, and you're going through all of that with him. And which, thus kind of like what you were just explaining, it drags you as the reader, then you have a front row seat to everything that he's going through, especially from that grief perspective.
Poor guy. I just can't imagine. I mean, I can technically imagine since I read the book, but
right.
So, can I ask, or do you know, how many are going to be in this series? Are you going to give us a couple, or is this just a small one? Or do you even know? Just winging it?
So a little all of the above. So I am the penciled out goal is 5 books. With depending upon how things go, I could possibly expand that to like a 6 or 7. But the penciled out is about 5. When I get through with, I'm writing number 3 right now. When I get done with that, or 4, and then suddenly something else happens, then who knows? But but that's the in pencil is about 5 books. Now, one thing I thought about, depending upon of course, all depend upon the popularity of it, and if Crystal Lake is loving it, which so far, Joe over Crystal Lake, who I love, you're awesome. So he has said that he is excited for it and all that. So I'm yay. But my thoughts on it is looking at doing something where I didn't want to do a series where it's like, oh, it's like 20 books, and like if you start from book 1, congratulations, I'm with you for a while now. And so I wanted you to kind of be able to pick up from wherever, and so I'm looking at doing whatever kind of overarching thread is like a almost like a season of a television show where
Ooh.
so this 5 6 books whatever is following. I mean, you're kind of learning the world with Mike. There's an overarching story that's happening, but it comes to an end. But that doesn't necessarily mean those characters and their stories need to come to an end. It could then, it could be like season one, and then have another set of books that's a
I am such a sucker for things like that. I don't know what it is about it. I just like the weird, almost Easter egg scream that you kind of feel when you're reading something, and then you see something, you're like, "Oh, this is familiar. I recognize that." I love that. It just
yeah.
makes it exciting. So,
So yeah. So that's kind of what I'm in picturing it is once I finish this thread in this story arc, then we'll see if afterwards I find another little story arc to do and set them on new adventures.
oh, that'll be exciting. So,
Yeah, I am excited about it because I do like the characters. So definitely I think Nikki is probably one of my favorite characters to write. She's she's a fun little badass to write. So
yes.
and I will say in book two you learn more about her and her and Nate's backstory a little bit and how they how they get wrapped into the night group. So
I don't trust none of y'all, so I try not to get too attached to any of the characters. Like I just can't. I can't trust y'all. So I love her, but I'm like, okay, just in case something happens, I can't love her too much. But I am excited. I am excited to see what happens and where this goes. And for everybody else to figure it out. So I'll be screaming from the street corners. Please read this book so he writes the rest of them. So
I
tell me
appreciate that.
about
Scream very loud. That's great. Yeah.
October. What are we talking about releasing in October?
So yeah, so book two comes out in October. So I've settled on a title for book two. For the longest time, I had I shortened everything, so it was like TNC, and then it was TNC two, and I was like, I need to come up with some kind of something behind it besides just two. And so it's a Night Crew two. Bloodlust is the name of the second one.
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I had a beta reader. She was like, oh, what about this? And I was like, you're my favorite person right now because I was struggling with a name.
Sold.
It's like I was like, yes, that works. Because yeah, there's a couple different things that's happening, and so I was like, I don't know what to name this one, and I'm struggling with it. And so
I don't know how you guys come up with titles to begin with. I feel like I remember writing essays in school, coming up with just titles for that, and it was terrible.
some it depends. So like to hell with Hallmark, like came right along with the idea. That one was easy. The Night Crew also because I mean when I started the Night Crew, um, I the initial thinking of it was that almost that Mission Impossible style team of folks. It's kind of where it started. And I was like, oh, I'll have them call themselves the Night Crew because they kill monsters. And so it that was easy. Fear Not the Dead was one I kind of struggled with for a bit. And then so that one took me a little while. And then with I got into like the Night Crew 2, I was like, I've got to come up with something, but I was like, hell, I don't know, I'm stuck now.
Gotta
Um,
start thinking about the third one now, all right?
I know, right?
Get ready.
I have a couple ideas on the third one, so we'll see.
Okay, got it. At least we've already started early on the research
Yeah,
part for that.
yeah, yeah. Well, and I'm 26,000 words now, right now, into the third one. So hopefully,
That's
about
so
another
many
month,
words.
I'll have it done. So,
Yes.
and then
Very.
I can send that over to Crystal Lake, and maybe this time next year, then number three is dropping, or yeah, that'll be number three.
That'll be so nice. And before I
Yes.
forget, do you plan on doing any more To Hell With books? Because I know that multiple of us have been begging.
So, yeah, so I have debated it, and I haven't discounted it because it was fun to do. Um, so those just kind of they definitely just kind of naturally just kind of float out. So I have thought about maybe, but I've kind of the kind of the bigger discussion for me, like as I started looking at thinking of doing more to hell with books, was I did to hell with Hallmark, but everybody was like, "Well, it's Christmas," and they're like, "Oh, what about like to hell with Valentine's Day or to hell with?" I was like, "But technically, Hallmark was a channel, so
That is true.
um, I was like,
To help
I
with
could
Lifetime,
do like I thought about like to hell with Lifetime or to hell with PBS or and
to
so
help with Food Network.
so I thought about that. So with Hallmark, I mean, I named the town Hallmark. So if ever something, if
They're
if
like,
ever if ever somebody realizes it who has a law degree and goes, "Hmm, the name of the town's Hallmark, it has nothing to do with the channel. Thank you very much."
smart move.
So I doubt if I said to hell with PBS, I'm getting away with that. But
That's what I was going to say. You can't really say this town's named after TNT network or something like that. They might
yeah,
get
so
that makes
yeah,
sense.
so there's a little bit of an issue there. I have to kind of work through and figure out. But yeah, so though that's but no, there I have thought about, it'd be funny to do because like if it was like the hell with PBS, I mean, I could have some fun with some Sesame Street and some Mr. Rogers
Oh my
and
goodness. I can, yeah, that would be hilarious. That'd be funny. But good. At least you have other books coming out, and they are just as good, in my personal opinion.
I do appreciate that. Yeah, I have the one coming out in October. I have one that I have written that is under review at a publisher right now. So fingers crossed that they decide to put it under contract.
Very
It is not a
exciting.
night crew book; it's a standalone. Like I said, I'm currently writing the third night crew book right now, and I have some other standalones that I am that are in my little bag of goodies that I'm uh, trying to find some time in my horribly busy schedule to to write.
Horribly busy schedule. I mean, I imagine so. You're doing your books, you're writing, you're promoting them,
And somewhere
AuthorCon,
I have
things
a
like that. And then you have to have your regular life too. Find some time to eat.
yeah,
So
yeah. Like I
you're
said, I
busy.
yeah, I have a day job I gotta squeeze in there somewhere
Oh,
and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it definitely I stay busy with it.
how
But
much
I
fun
love
do you
doing it.
have?
I love storytelling. So it's hearing uh seeing people's responses to to the stories. I all the reviews and stuff I kept seeing on like things like Hallmark and all that. I mean, it's great to see people's reactions and stuff to the stories because I enjoy telling stories. So even if I, wasn't, even if it wasn't that I was, making any kind of money from this, because I don't think I have yet, but I don't know if I've broken even when I start adding in all the travel for the author for the events. But so, but it's still it's fun to do. The community is great. The first event that I actually went to that was really a books of horror kind of horror event was the Dark Dress Festival that we had in January. It was my first one, and it was awesome because there were some folks who I've been chatting with online for 2 years that I finally it was the first time I got to meet some people in person and really start building some community relationships. And the horror community is great. Everybody's wonderful. Um, like I said, getting to meet some folks, and then now I reach out to, when I message folks, I'm like, hey, would you mind doing a blurb for her? They're like, oh, sure, no problem. Because they like know me. I'm not just like random, you know,
Isn't it crazy?
yeah.
I love it. I had such regret not going to Dark Drafts, but I couldn't, of course. But I saw all the photos, and I'm like, this looks so fun. And
It
then
was a
the
blast.
regret
And
I felt from missing AuthorCon, I feel like I missed a part of history.
there was some great stuff that happened. It happened in AuthorCon. It was my first one to go to, and I
Oh,
I, I had fun. Like I said, this year I'm doing a lot of events this year. uh, I haven't done them in the past, and so I'm doing a number of events this year, and then next year we'll see how many I decide to keep doing. Some of it will depend upon how many my wife lets me keep doing and spending money on. So as as long as I promise her that we will still go on a cruise every so often, then I'm sure she'll be okay with it.
I
But
love cruises. That's
that that that
serious.
that's our vacation of choice typically, and so I love doing those. So as long as I still intermingle one or two a year, then I'm sure she'll let me keep doing keep going to some author cons. So
I am so excited for Books and Brews, so I can't even see straight. Like, I try to not think about it because it's too far off and too close at the same exact time.
I'm actually going to Books and Brews. I'm not like an author there, so
But you're
I don't have a
going.
I'm going. I messaged Rhonda and I said I will happily be a volunteer. And so I'm going and helping out. I'll be there to help out and help out others.
I'm so
Um,
excited though.
yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. Have you heard of or thought about going to TBR Con, the one that Megan Stockton put together? Because
So
I
I
want
am
to go to that one.
so I'm currently signed up for that one.
Ooh,
But also that same weekend there's one called Fright Reads, and so I'm like
I think I
not
heard of
sure.
that too.
Yeah, that one's in Maryland. It's like the same weekend, and I'm like, so I'm trying to determine which one I'm going to go to.
We'll see. We'll see where you end up.
Yeah, I know.
Either place will be very lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm doing the Texas AuthorCon in July, so I'll be there for that. That's gonna be fun. It's moving to it last year it was at a the as at the hotel where we're staying at the bottom. This year they're moving to the Irving Convention Center outside of Dallas, and
Ooh,
so yeah, it's so I got a ton of people that are gonna be there for it.
that's gonna be fun. I
Yeah.
love conventions. I've went to like little ones, and then I went to Dragon Con. That's been mine. So I'm just like so excited. I love it when all the same people get together in an area that love the same thing. It's exciting.
Yes. Oh, definitely, definitely, definitely.
I'm not
Like I
even like a people person, and I'm still pumped. So
said, well, it was fun like I said, Dark Dress was being my first one of everybody. It was all the folks who are part of Books and Brews and stuff, and or books of horror, and it was funny because I was a newbie. I haven't met really anybody in this group before, and I messaged in our little group chat, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we're at whatever little restaurant," and I like walk in, and like suddenly everybody's all best friends. Like I walk in, and I think one of the first people I saw was like Lauren Young, and she like jumped up and was like, "Brad," and gave me a hug, and everybody was like, "Who's that guy?" But but it
oh
was
my
like suddenly it
goodness.
was like you just melded in, and just best
Isn't
friends with
it
everybody.
weird how that works? It's like you're
It
already
is,
friends.
yeah, it definitely was.
Very exciting. Very exciting. What other cons do you have in the horizon, or can you say? I don't know. Is it too
Um,
early?
well, so for this year, so I had Dark Dress and I had AuthorCon, and then I have so there's locally here in town
Yeah.
there's our mall is doing they have it's called Mallapalooza, and they have a bunch of horror stuff that's happening, some different actors and celebrities that come in, and so I signed up and I have a booth for it. So yeah, they have like the both, yeah, like Jason and Jeremy London are going to be there, and they have these people who dress up as like the Sanderson witches, and
See, that's cool.
so
I love stuff
it's
like
a
that.
fun little, yeah, it's a fun little thing, get people out to the mall. So I have a booth there, doing the Texas AuthorCon. I'm gonna be hanging out with folks over at Books and Brews, and I'll don't tell anybody, but I'll probably have some books in my hotel room if in case anybody wants to buy one.
Just sell them out of the trunk of your car. Hey guys.
Hey, you want some books?
You want any of these? I got what you need. No. That's what I imagine. You just
Oh,
walking
it's funny.
around with a trench coat full of books.
Yeah, so it's like, you want some of this line or you want some?
Yes.
um yeah, and then either, like I said, either TBR Con or the Fright Reads. So one of those in September, and then I believe that pretty much does the year. I don't know if any that are coming up after that, um but yeah, so that's what this year looks like, and then we'll kind of go forward from there to see how how next year looks like.
That's so exciting. I want to go to AuthorCon next year. I decided that before AuthorCon was even over this year. Like day one, as the pictures flowed in, I was like, done. I'm never doing this again. Because I thought it was going to be fun to watch from the sidelines. I was like, I'll see pictures. It's no big deal. Worst choice ever.
Yeah, no. So I went to AuthorCon, but then like there were, they had done the post about if you want to be on a panel or do a reading or anything like that, and I was like, nope. I was like, I'm not doing any of that because I have no idea what any of that entails, and so I am definitely just, I'm gonna have my booth, and then I may go to some sessions, and so that's what I did. So next year I'll, if I'm fortunate enough to get a table, then I will also be signing up for. Um, I may sign up for a panel or two, or at least do a reading. But so I'm going to do a little bit more. I might even decide to throw my hat into the gross out competition. So we'll see. Um,
That's so cool too. I'm mad I missed it. I'm just so
oh my
mad.
God. So I had heard about it, and then I attended it, and that's all I'm going to say. Um,
It's something you must experience yourself.
yes, yes,
Oh,
definitely.
God.
So, but Dark Drafts, I highly recommend. I've already put in my application for next year's.
I
So,
loved the dark drafts thing they did with the books and then the drinks. I love that. I'm a sucker for anything that's even halfway customized. So everybody jot that down. But though the drink thing was absolutely, I was like, I kept waiting. I was like, okay, next book, who's got a drink and what is it?
yeah, that was awesome that they did all the those signature drinks and stuff for us.
Yes.
So, yeah, that was fun. Just the environment itself was being in that brewery with had
The
the whole
entire brewery
catacombs,
had its own
and
built-in atmosphere. Like you couldn't
oh, I
go in
know.
there and it not be spooky. And then you have the little ghosts they have going on. Every time I seen Clay doing a video, I'm like, how is it that spooky already?
Oh my God, Clay was it was the first time I got to meet Clay, and he is awesome. And so it's funny because a couple people that are in a book club that I'm at here in town, they had some of Clay's books, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be seeing him at this festival, and they were like, oh, good, we'll give you the book so you can get them signed for me. Neither of them gave me their books, and so they, by the time I left, they're like, oh, let's have to do it next time. I'm like, okay. And then so while I'm up there, I get Clay, and I'm like, hey, I need to take a selfie because I got to rub it in some people's faces. Um,
I'm sure he loved it.
oh, he had a blast with it. So yeah.
I'm part of an online book club that had Clay as a guest recently, and he was talking about Wake Up and Open Your Eyes, and he's just so much fun and energy. I'm like, how is a person literal electricity?
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see him at Books and Brews. Also, I bet he's just going to power the entire thing.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so talking about, that's one of the things that we talk about, this community that's so cool about it, because the book club I'm at, this month's book club, we're doing Exorcist House, and so while I was at AuthorCon, I went and chatted with Nick. I was like, hey, would you mind doing a Zoom? And he was like, sure, no problem. And
I
so
bet your book club just about died.
oh yes. Well, and the lady who runs the book club, she grew up in West Virginia, and so she was like on cloud nine. So we're doing that here this coming week, and so she's so excited. So yeah.
The
But
other thing that I love
but that's
about the
how great this
community.
little community is, because everybody helps each other, and it's wonderful.
It really is, between the auctions that we put together for people that need stuff, or raising money here recently in like 24 hours. It's just crazy the things you
Yeah.
can do when you like actually have a group of people that care about other people.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that it's a horror community. But it is one of my favorite things. Here's a bunch of spooky people that are super nice.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's great. I think I told you in chat, like when we was at Dark Draft and stuff, it was funny because um, people were I remember at one point we were all sitting around a table and somebody was like, they're like, "What'd you write?" I was like, "Oh, I did, To Hell with Hallmark." They're like, "Oh my God, you did that with Hallmark!" And there's like suddenly people were like take pictures and I was like, "I don't know what's happening and I don't understand this."
This is confusing.
But
Why are we taking pictures?
right, but so it's a great little kooky little fun little community, and I mean it's so awesome.
It is. It is. I love us. As a group. Okay, I want to ask you some fun things now, since we've been talking business this whole time. And it might not be fun things, consider I'm going to ask you, hey, what is your favorite book? But I'm going to give you a segue. You can pick like 3 in case you don't want to just say one and hurt somebody's feelings.
So my so if we're talking horror, my favorite book of all time is The Stand. So I love
Oh.
Stephen King's The Stand. There's just so much to it,
That's
and
just like a journey. Like, you have to set a time aside to dive into The Stand. There's just no just glancing and going in halfway.
no, it was definitely when I read it, it was just how immersive and really it takes you through from beginning to I mean the whole thing is just so it's such an awesome little tome. The ending kind of drives me a little nuts, but I mean what king doesn't? Um
Um, if you didn't really have some feelings about the end, did you read a Stephen King book?
right. But no, in of itself, that's probably one of my horror wise, is probably one of my favorite books. Um, non-horror, I enjoy the classics, so things like Count of
Ooh.
Monte Cristo is one of my favorite books. To me, it's like the blueprint for revenge. It Yeah, so Count of Monte Cristo, I love Les Miserables. And so like I said, I get outside of out of the horror realm, and like I said, the classics are are probably my other reading that I do a lot
Oh,
of.
definitely. I don't only read horror. I like to go dip my feet into the thriller area. I love mysteries. Love mysteries.
Mm,
Agatha Christie. I remember my
mhm.
librarian giving me my first one, and I was done for after that. But you got to keep yourself rounded. If you're only reading
Oh, yeah.
horror or only reading what you're writing, then you don't have anything else fun to pull off of.
Agree, and it has to be because you'll definitely pull inspiration from everything. And anything that you read, especially if you let it kind of become a part of you, that's going to be something that influences you and how in your craft and what you do. Even beyond something like of course, you talk about horror, and everybody's like, well, Stephen King. To me, Poe even more so than King. The atmospheric elements that Poe does. I mean, you read Fear Not the Dead. In Fear Not the Dead, that's part of what I wanted to do is kind of emulate how atmospheric that Poe gets. Is part of what I tried for in Fear Not the Dead. And that you talk about, yeah, I have the lush greens of the field and the deep red of the house, and just trying to really put that upon you as the reader. Similar to how like Edgar Allan Poe does, when in just a few pages you are sitting directly in that listening to the heartbeat, and you're or in the pit. And
That makes sense. I'm one of those people that I cannot picture anything in my head, like nothing, which explains so many things. So when I find an author that actually manages to paint a picture in like with words, which is what I need, I'm like, yes, yes, this is great, which explains a lot. So you hit the atmospheric thing for that one. I love it when I'm reading and I catch myself. having a little bit of a trouble breathing, or I'm starting to breathe a little bit harder, and I'm like, oh yes, okay, we're here, we're in this book. It's
Yeah.
chef's kiss. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Let's see. Do you have a horror role model? Can be movies or directors, like it does not matter.
Hmm. Um, director wise, probably probably have to go more like John Carpenter. Um, so just again, kind of leaning that atmospheric as well as because Halloween in and of itself is you have Michael Myers and you have the slasher thing, but just the whole atmosphere of Haddonfield and
You've got to
that
add
day,
something else in it to be different than just a slasher. Otherwise, you just got a guy chasing a bunch of people.
right? But the town itself is almost a character in the setting of it.
Oh,
Um, the same thing with in his remake of The Thing, is that the whole where they're at is that whole isolation horror is just so awesome.
I sucker for isolation horror, of course. I've said that like a bazillion times. I do love things like that.
Yeah. So I
Let's
think so I think Carpenter does a great job in how he really ties in more than just the main slasher or the main whatever or the creature or things like that. He uses a lot of different elements. And I think in doing good horror, you want to rely on a lot of different senses and elements versus just
You
the
don't want to just write he chased her through the halls. You got to make them
right
feel them getting chased through that hallway.
correct.
Yep.
Yes, and I think I mean again, if we kind of take the Halloween example, think of that movie without that little soundtrack. You know,
Oh,
you can't. And so and so even that alone, it's you adding in that element where those little piano keys are just bouncing on your spine the whole time, and so it is that entire it's kind of that entire motif of the whole painting is what makes good horror. And so I definitely from a role model and what I try to put in or would aspire to be able to put into my books is that whole the complete painting, complete picture.
okay. Now I'm going to ask you a basic one that I'm sure everybody's asked you since the beginning of time. What made you want to become a writer?
Yeah, where do your ideas come from and how did you start? Yeah, those are
Yeah,
the
I gotta at least ask, what made you? No, actually, my favorite thing is what book were you reading, and you're like, man, I want to do this. This is something that I could actually do or want to do. Actually, let me rephrase that.
So, I mean, I've always been more on the creative side. I wrote short stories when I was in junior high and high school, and I've always liked the storytelling aspect of it. I got away from that in college. I got into well, I won't say I got away from it. I instead of doing writing short stories, I got into music and I was doing songwriting, and so same creative outlet. I just or creativity just changed the outlet a little bit. Um, and then it was during COVID when I was like, I wonder if I can actually sit down and write a novel. And it was kind of more of a test on myself and if I had the discipline to do it. And so that's definitely what from a I guess kind of a evolution it would be. That's kind of how that came to be where it was always been on the creative side.
Just trying to figure
And
out which direction
just
to put it.
yeah, pretty much.
I think
Like I
you picked a
said,
good
and
one.
I've I said storytelling is always something I enjoy doing, and so um, it's so just going from that when it was just short stories to again, like I said, now it's do I have the discipline to sit down and write a novel?
And I know people laugh when people say that, but it's serious. Like, I don't think people remember sitting down in high school or the last time they had to read a college paper and how many words it was, because I didn't think about how little amount of words it was until I see you or Gage or somebody being like, this is 50,000 words. And I'm like, oh, that is a lot of words that you have to put in a correct order that makes sense and people like.
Right.
And then you have to make yourself do it. There's nobody making you.
Right. Exactly. And that's a big part of it is like, okay, well, you have to have the self-discipline to do it. When my alarm goes off in the morning, it's very easy to say, nah.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, then that story never gets told. And once you have the characters in your head and their story is trying to get out, there's not much.
Knocking.
Yeah, there's not much you can do to make those voices go away until you get them out sometimes. Um, it is funny because I have teenagers who live in the house, and so my all my kids always are teenagers, and so they'll talk about, oh, the teacher wants me to do an essay, and it's like they want like 500 words, and I'm like, that's like 30
That ain't
minutes.
nothing. Nothing at all.
I was like, I can get you I was like, how quick do you need these 500 words?
5 minutes done.
I was
crazy.
30 minutes. I can make them make sense too.
That's funny. That's so funny. Okay, let's see. Anything that you want to tell us about that we haven't touched on? Sky's the limit, because this is your platform today.
Sky's the limit because it's my platform. I
Yes.
don't know. I don't really have anything that like just
It's super exciting.
geeky. No, I mean not really. No. Did you hear me say I have teenagers at home? No, I don't have anything super exciting.
That's a horror story of its own.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, my wife asked at times. She's like, we should get a dog. I'm like, why? We have kids.
It's either kids or animals. Like, having both is a lot. It's so much, especially when one of them's a dog.
Now, so all of and we're stair step too. So there's one so we have one in each grade in high school right now.
Oh my
So we
goodness.
have one who's a senior. He's graduating in a couple
You're
weeks.
gonna have somebody with prom and graduation every year for the next 4 years.
We're soon to have 3 drivers in the household, which means we have our 2 cars. Plus, right now there are 2 sitting in the street, and there's soon to be one more. And I'm like, I need some of y'all to start moving out.
Like, get your stuff, get your car, go.
I was like, at some point the HOA is going to start grabbing.
Brad, are you running a car lot here, or no? Just all my kids at the same time are driving, which is terrifying for us and y'all.
I know I'm in the South. At least they're all on their wheels and not all on, and none of them are on blocks in my yard. So
that's what I was going to say. Usually, most of the time in the South, as you know, as long as it looks okay, they don't grow up too much, and you got to move them every once in a while. So keep that up, shifting them around.
Keep them guessing. pull one of them a little closer to the neighbor's yard, make them think it's theirs.
I'm not even kidding if I have or have not done that in my life, because I have lived in the South my entire life.
So whereabouts in the South?
So originally, I'm from. Do you know where Chattanooga and Knoxville is?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the direct center, or well, I was in the direct center. It was called Etowah, or still is. It's not like it got wiped off the map, but it was a little old depot town with like little depot train and everything like that. And I'm in Memphis now, so like,
gotcha.
Even though it's still in Tennessee, it's a literal 7-hour drive. It makes no sense.
One job I had customers who were in Nashville and some in Memphis, and so I've made that drive a couple times, and that's a terrible drive.
It is. And like, what's crazy is a lot of people are like, why don't you just fly back home? Because we have an airport. But how does the 7-hour drive turn into like a 14-hour airplane ride because of all the jumping and layovers? And I'm like, I guess I'm just driving.
Yep. Well, I mean, I'm in Central Texas, so everything I do, it's 2.5 to 3 hour drive to
That's what I was
get
about
to.
to say. You got to pack up snacks.
I mean, I've literally being in Central Texas. If I drive 3 hours east, I'm in Houston. 3 hours west, I'm in the middle of nowhere because that's West Texas. Um, 3 hours north, I'm in Dallas, and south, I'm in San Antonio. So I'm literally just whichever I go, there's something. But it's a haul wherever I go.
Definitely agree. And traffic seems like it's getting worse and worse just everywhere. If I try to drive what should be 10 miles, it's like 45 minutes. And like back home where I'm from, 10 miles, like you're already there on accident before you even get into your car.
Yeah. Now
So
the good thing being that so at least where I'm at, I mean, the closest big city was probably Austin, and it's like an hour away. But for a while, where I lived and where I worked was about a 45-minute drive, about 45 miles away, but it was also about a 45-minute drive. And so people were like, wow, you go that far every day? I'm like, I know people who live and work in Austin, and they have a longer commute.
back home where I'm from, to like get a job, get a job outside of like regular out of high school or working in a factory job, I used to have to drive an hour to work and an hour home. And people are like, that's insane. And I'm like, that's normal. So when I have to drive like 5 minutes to work or something, I'm like, this is fun.
Yep.
It's crazy.
So yeah, so my normal is, yeah, I have, the kids were into uh prom and graduation season and all that stuff right now. So at least all the sports are over, so that does free up a little bit of my time. So sports season is all done. Um Outside of that, I just enjoy my bourbon and cigars. So
Those are good hobbies to have,
I
though.
know
Writing, bourbon, cigars, family, done.
there you go.
Oh, goodness. Well, I've kept you here forever, it seems, so I should probably cut this off. But thank you so much for coming onto my channel and doing this
No
interview with me.
problem.
I'm always excited when you guys want to be on it. It's fun.
I always enjoy hopping on and having conversations and stuff. So yeah,
And we
I
learn
never
new
mind.
stuff
All the time.
all the time. Thank
Mhm.
you very much. Anyway, this was Brad. Everybody needs to thank him. We need to follow his pages, all of his socials, which I will have up so you guys can follow them. I'll get them from him. It's the least we can do. And maybe even read some of his books.
Yes, please. Thanks.